Song gets me going every time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's Watch Club. We're the monthly filmmaker interview series of the Newburyport Documentary Film Festival. I'm Program Director James Sullivan. We're brought to you, as always, by the Ford Hall Forum, which is the longest continuously operating public lecture series in the country. We thank them, as always, and we thank you for watching and for your donations. Don't forget to subscribe to any of our social channels so you get updates on our monthly interview series. We're here today very excited to talk to the filmmaker behind Mary Oliver, Saved by the Beauty of the World, which is an incredible film by the world-renowned poet, made by documentarian Sasha Waters. Sasha's going to be speaking with us in just a minute. But as usual, I'm just going to ask producer Steve to roll the trailer for those of you who haven't had a chance to see it yet. So this is Mary Oliver, Saved by the Beauty of the World.
When you say you felt different, how did different feel to you?
Not belonging. I very much wished not to be noticed and to be left alone.
She was our most famous poet for a long time, and yet completely elusive.
I think she was always a beatnik.
A mystic.
She's radical.
It was shocking. I was a girl in Ohio, and I wanted to write poems. Unheard of.
She was an independent woman who wrote the poetry she wanted to write, who loved who she wanted to love.
Molly was this charismatic, stylish, sophisticated person.
We did not have much income. We had love and work and play.
Mary's career was what this couple was about.
The winners of the 1984 Pulitzer Prizes were announced today.
Mary Oliver won the National Book Award for Poetry.
Thank you.
You could not contain her any more than you could contain the season.
I could sit for 2 hours and look at the clouds and be very silent.
Everybody thinks Mary was this little earth mother.
And that certainly wasn't the life that she led.
That was one of my frustrations with Mary's poems. She was just presenting herself in the light. What is the storm?
One of the things about traumatic experiences is that you have to go in earnestly to look at it.
Mary spent some time feeling a little unmoored.
You could hear the truck coming down the road. You know, it was...
In that way, Mary is also a good cautionary tale.
Children forget. They don't know why they have nightmares all the time.
And then you started this new book, What Can I Say That I Have Not Said Before?
Mary was very clear that it wasn't going to define her.
I got saved by poetry, and I got saved by the beauty of the world.
Sasha Waters, welcome to the Watch Club.
Thank you so much, James. I'm really excited to be here and talk to you about the film.
Well, congratulations. I just mentioned this to you. We always show the trailer for the benefit of anyone who comes to the interview and realizes, oops, I forgot to watch the film. But usually, you know, we started doing these interviews because so many documentaries are available to stream now, and we can't show them all as a little film festival, but we want to talk about them. So, but you know, your film just premiered on PBS yesterday. I know that there are a lot of folks in our particular neck of the woods who got to see the film when it ran at our local theater, the Screening Room, which is one of our partners in our actual festival. You know, people have just begun to be able to stream it as of yesterday. So congratulations on having American Masters work with you on this film.
Thank you so much. It was really great to work with them. And also, I feel like I can say this about my own film. I love that trailer so much. And I can say it because I really had nothing to do with the trailer. And I think what's so amazing about it is the editing. It was edited by my co-editor for the film, Megan Sims. She did the trailer and the music, which is by the composers Claire and Olivier Manchon. they were also just dreams to work with on the film. And so every time I watch the trailer, I'm just reminded of how much I love collaborating with both of them. And yeah, I just
wait. Tell me your co-creator's name, or the woman who made the
co-editor, Megan Sims.
Megan.
Yeah, she's based in Chicago, and so we worked remotely the whole time, and we hadn't seen each other in a very long time until we finally reconnected at the premiere at True False in March.
Oh, great! Yeah, that was your premiere. So, what a great place to premiere. But that's interesting to me because it never would have occurred to me. I don't know that I've ever heard a filmmaker say before, "Yeah, somebody else made the trailer." But is that kind of typical, or did you feel like, Megan, you do it, like because I'm so close to this project that I want to figure out how to do, I'll let you figure out how to do a story arc in 2 minutes or whatever the trailer is, right?
It's funny. So for Winogrand, I didn't do the trailer either.
Let's say Gary Winogrand, All Things Are Photographable is what it's called, right?
Yeah. So that is the last feature I completed, which was a long time ago.
Which is about the photographer, street photographer, Gary Winogrand, whose work I love. And you and I have talked about that fact, but so please,
just say very quickly. So on that film, the distributor for that film, Greenwich Entertainment, they had someone cut the trailer. It's actually the filmmaker Jeremy Workman, who's also a really great filmmaker. So I think, I feel like it's a really particular skill, and so I'm happy to sort of let someone else with those chops really take a crack at it while I'm, working on making sure we have all the releases and doing all the kind of more producer-oriented tasks that happen at the end of the film when you need to deliver everything to the broadcast network and to the distributor.
And in a trailer, obviously, you need to get right away at the heart of sort of the conflict and what's the story arc, and that trailer does that really nicely, right? I mean, you obviously address all these things in the film. Mary's trauma and her need for seclusion for most of her life, and the fact that a lot of critics poo-pooed her work for a long time. All of that is captured in all of those tensions are captured in the trailer, right?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a very particular skill. So Megan's really good at it.
Yeah. So I'll start basically by I'm going to start by asking you your own personal experience with Mary's poetry.
Yeah.
Like, have you been reading her for 40 years? Did you come late to her work? Did you sort of know a surface amount until you got this lined up this project and then dove all the way in, or what?
I've been reading her for more than 20 years, I would say. The first Mary Oliver poem I remember hearing as opposed to reading was the poem When Death Comes, and I heard it read by Garrison Keillor on the Writer's Almanac, which people of a certain age will remember was a program on public radio. I think it was daily, where Garrison Keillor would talk about this day in history and writing.
A poem from
and so it's in the film. I use his introduction in the film because I love that poem so much. And I remember hearing it for the first time and it just stopping me in my tracks and going out and finding Mary's books and reading her after that. So I've been reading her for a long time, but I definitely feel like the film gave me an opportunity to do a huge deep dive. I had read the essays, but I spent a lot more time rereading those. And also she's written 2 books on craft, on the craft of writing poetry, which I would not have read on my own because I'm not a poet. And even when I first approached them, I thought, oh, well, I'll just, I'll do this because it's a necessary part of the research, but just doing it to do it. And I found them really fascinating and kind of very helpful in a lot of ways to any kind of art form, just the way she talks about discipline and craft. And
that's
so really
so funny because
to spend time.
While I was taking notes while watching your film, I made a note to pick up a poetry handbook because I haven't read it. You're an academic. You kind of got your start in experimental filmmaking. I'm wondering if when you first started reading her poetry, you were like, oh, but some people think it's like too facile, like her poetry is too easy, or were you just like, I love it, it works for me and I don't care what people like. This is a theme that comes up with her poetry all the time. Yeah.
I don't think I spend a lot of time thinking about it. I mean, I read a lot of different poets and poetry, and I certainly, because I lived in Iowa City for a dozen years, which I used to teach at the University of Iowa. I'm now at Virginia Commonwealth in Richmond.
Right.
The University of Iowa has the famous Iowa Writers Workshop, where there are poets who come through, and there are certain kinds of poets and poetry that are maybe more esteemed in that kind of setting, right? But I would say I try to be open to all different kinds of artists, and it's not really, I'm coming to it just from as a reader who's just taking pleasure in the work. So I'm not, I wasn't necessarily thinking too much about the critical reception or the critical response.
Sure. How did you come to the project in the first place? Did you pitch this? Did you say that this is something that needs to be done?
No, our outside producer, John Keith, who's a huge Mary Oliver fan, he pitched it to American Masters, and American Masters and I had been in conversation about a few other things. And then I sort of waved my hands and said, oh, wait, I love Mary Oliver. I want to do that. And so I wrote a proposal and sent it to Michael Cantor, the executive producer, just a short kind of pitch of, making my case. And I think, I was really interested in, because I had done a film about a photographer, I was really interested in this challenge of making a film about a poet where we don't know what we're looking at, and it's also like Gary Winogrand, she's got this huge body of work, like just so much work, and to think about how to tell her really incredible life story, which is like a fairy tale, within the constraints of a 90-minute the broadcast version is only 80 minutes, 81 minutes, the feature version is 91 minutes. So how to tell her story in that time frame, and also how, at the same time, leave room to be able to share a lot of the poems. So, and just to spend time with her work was a real privilege.
And just visually, I saw quite a bit of the Winogrand in there, because there's a lot of old footage and old, photographs with the oversaturated colors and stuff like that. And you also took the opportunity, because it's about poetry, to, sort of take a lot of liberties with visual images and footage. Is that actually her, Mary's father, or is that just somebody's father, that kind of stuff. Right. So I guess if you're doing a film about poetry, even though she did seem to have quite a bit of an archive of home movies and, lots of photographs and footage of her doing readings and things, you also got the chance to take those liberties, right? And that's kind of probably one of the joys of working on a film about a poet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a lot of ways, I don't necessarily think of myself as a documentary filmmaker. I think of myself as an artist who works in film, particularly experimental film, who happens to be nutty enough to make a documentary every few years, because they take so long to make, even under the best of circumstances. So I did feel like this freedom to approach the material and try to be sometimes metaphorical or suggestive, and really sort of play with the material visually, to the extent that one can, within the structure of a biography.
Right. Well, it's really beautifully done, and I really appreciated it. And so congratulations again. Do you want to talk a little bit about the readers that you got? I'm sure that everybody asks you about this, but how did you put the word out to find out, who are some, known quantity? I mean, obviously Oprah, because of the, and Maria Shriver, because of the, those connections, the magazine, and the, Maria's interview with Mary, but some of those celebrity readers, Steve Buscemi, Colbert, obviously, Jesse Wells is a guy that I've become familiar with, and how do you put the feelers out to say, hey, friends and family, and Facebook friends or whatever, who knows somebody who's a known quantity who loves Mary Oliver's poetry?
Yeah, that's such a great question. In every case, it was different. So early on, relatively early on in my research, I went down a TikTok rabbit hole, because there's so many people reading wild geese and showing their wild geese tattoos.
Of course, right.
And I found this TikTok that Helena Bonham Carter had made of herself reading wild geese. She's just reading wild geese. And so that was how I discovered that she was a Mary Oliver fan. So that was just kind of early in the research process. Lindsay Whalen, who is Mary Oliver's biographer, who's been working on the written biography of Mary's life for some time, she's the one who told me that that she had seen Steve Buscemi at one of Mary's readings.
Oh.
So yeah, so that was kind of like, or I think she said, "Oh, I saw Steve Buscemi at Mary's reading when Mary was still alive, like more than once." And so I think he would say himself, like he's not like a huge poetry guy, but that he had been drawn into her work. And then Stephen Colbert, one night on his show, he told a guest that he happened to send that poem to his children every day on the first day of summer. And by then we were deep into production. And so people knew. I think I had 5 friends text me like, "Oh my God, Stephen Colbert just said that," like, And so,
so good.
So just trying to track people down and connect with them was different for me, because working with actors or celebrities, known quantities, it's different than emailing a poet and asking if you could do an interview. It's a little more complicated, but everyone was so generous with their time, and they just really loved Mary, and we're happy to be a part of it, I think.
Right. But then, I mean, the actual poetry community, I mean, there's a lot of connections to Provincetown,
yes,
or Cape Cod or whatever. So a lot of those folks are in there. Nick Flynn, like he said, he spent several years out there or whatever, right? What did you come to know about? I'm sure you spent some time actually doing those interviews, right? Had you spent time in Provincetown before, extended time?
No, I had not. I mean, now I'm one of these people that like, I just want to keep going back. Yeah. I think I went for a research trip, and then I went to film 4 or 5 times. So I wanted to film particularly like Beach Forest and these places that Mary spent time. I wanted to film them in every season. Sure. And so when I say film, so, we did the interviews, I had a crew with me, but a fair amount of the filming I did myself, just on a hand cranked 16 millimeter Bolex camera. Yep. And so that was the material from Provincetown. So that was really amazing just to be able to go there and spend time there. And it's also where, just through that process of spending time there, I met my friend Steve Swanson, who appears in the film, who's a Provincetown local who's been there. He's the person who says, do you know how many people I've met who came here for a weekend or a summer and are here 50 years later? And he, in fact, is also one of them. Yeah. And so, I really love it there. The last time I was there was in June for the film festival. And I hope to go back again soon in the off season. I think I like it better actually in the spring and the fall.
So you premiered at True Falls,
which
is in Missouri, right? And run by, what's the guy's name? He's one of my favorite documentary filmmakers, and I can't think of his name. He does all the True Falls documentaries. Like anyway, I'll figure that out. But
okay.
Provincetown, we just showed that picture of your camera. Mary was so quotable, obviously, but one thing that she said at some point in your film was, I walk the same path every day to see what I missed.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I mean, I walk the same path every day with my dog around the block, and it's such a great reminder to, as Stephen Colbert says, as so many of these people who are admirers of Mary's say, just pay attention, be open to the world, look at things more closely,
Yeah. And walking around with a kind of a heavy camera that you're going to take the shot, but you're not going to see it till you've sent it off to the lab and gotten it back. It certainly makes you really slow down and pay attention.
Yeah. So what did you feel like? Could you feel her presence while you were doing some of those like walkabouts in the forest or on the dunes or whatever?
Well, the dunes, I do not recommend taking a film camera to the dunes because I did get sand in my camera.
Yeah.
And I had to send it out to have it repaired because I it was windy. I mean, it's windy there in general, but it was quite windy and I shouldn't have done that. Yeah. I feel like I definitely, I kind of felt her and thought about her the most when I was there in the dead of winter. I mean, Cape Cod in February is no joke. And particularly that winter, like, when was I there? Like 2 winters ago. Like, it was a really rough winter. Like, I guess the last winter too, it snowed a lot. Well, an unusual amount. And so I was there after it had snowed. It was quite icy. And I thought, wow, this is like intense to imagine Mary and Molly living here through 40 winter. And, and like I said, I've met people there now who are year-round residents, and it's intense in the winter there.
Yeah. And I mean, even if it's not a snowy winter, just the ocean wind, is brutal. You have to be prepared for it, or you have to be prepared to kind of hunker down for the winter, basically, right?
And the days are shorter than they are where I live.
Yeah.
I mean, like noticeably. I was like, oh, this is like, it's getting dark quite early.
Yeah, right. So, to wrap up the conversation about Provincetown, does John Waters live there year round?
No, he lives in Baltimore.
He does live in Baltimore.
He does,
still.
yeah. So I believe he spends the summer there. I mean, he was there for the film festival in June.
Yeah,
I think he's there for the summer.
All right, and so I started to say this earlier. You premiered at True False and then went to Provincetown, probably kind of on the heels of that. Is that true?
We did a whole bunch of festival and other screenings, and so True False was early March, and Provincetown fell in mid-June. So it was a little bit of a blur. But yes, going back to Provincetown was really special because, of course, John Waters was there. Other, my friend Steve was there. Other people who I just met in the community who were so wonderful came out to support the film, and it was the screening was in Town Hall, and it was packed. It was totally sold out. And it played at Water's Edge right after that, which is the local cinema there. Right. It was held over for a number of weeks.
Right. So I'm sure you probably, besides all the folks that you met while you were shooting in Provincetown, I'm sure at the, screening during the film festival, you probably met some folks from P-Town who you hadn't met before, but who probably said, oh, I knew Mary and Molly, they lived down the block from me and I've lived here for 40 years or whatever. Did anybody come up to you and say, have I got a story for you? And where you said, oh, geez, my film's done. I can't do anything.
Don't tell me. No, I feel like that has happened, but it actually did not happen on that trip to Provincetown, but it has happened where there have been some screenings in the western part of the United States that I haven't gone to the Q&A, but John and Leia, who are our Denver-based producers, went, and they've met people as well. So we've shared stories of people who knew Mary, but nothing too dramatic that we thought, oh my gosh. I'm sure there are stories that, Lindsay, like I said, Lindsay Whalen's been working on this biography.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it because I'm sure I will learn new things that I did not know about.
So when is that going to be published? Do you know?
I don't know. It doesn't have a date set yet.
Yeah. Huh. Is she like the quote unquote official biographer?
She's the official biographer, and she started when Mary was still alive. So she started a couple of years before Mary died, and she's just, it's a complicated, long life, and she's very detailed. So she's working on it.
Which brings me to ask about Molly Cook, who was Mary's life partner, who sounds like almost worth a film on her own, right?
Yes.
She was there at the beginning of The Village Voice as a staff photographer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a quote that she has in the film, something about I want to see the face of every person in America or something like that. That struck me. She sounds like amazing, and also their partnership certainly sounds like she was she ran the show, but as John Waters says, but kind of the first few decades was about her work and Mary was getting her feet under her with her poetry. And then when Mary's poetry sort of belatedly took off, Molly stepped back and said, I'll be your literary agent, and we'll, this will be what we do for the rest of our time together. Right.
Yes. And I think Molly, yes, as you say, she could have her own film. She's so fascinating. And I love that we were able to really include her. I wish we could have included even more of her work, but her story as well, like this really important love story that was so central to Mary's life and central to Mary's creativity and creative process. This idea that this partnership was so nurturing for her and allowed her to have the privacy, and also, that they lived this very simple, impoverished for many years life. And Molly was just with her through it all. And so I think that story is it's really beautiful and moving and inspiring as well.
Right. So I'm going to ask you maybe my last question, to tell me between the poetry, yes, the poetry, like, I mean, you sort of talked to all these folks about like, what did Mary's work mean to you in your life, and how did it, sort of get you through a hard time, or, teach you how to focus a little better or whatever. But now that you've done her life story, as a documentary filmmaker, that's sort of like, you've taken it to the exponential level, right? What have you learned from the life and work of Mary Oliver that you've been able to apply to your own life or your day to day? Or,
I don't know if I've been able to apply it.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly, right.
Those are two different things. I mean, I feel like I learned this idea of like, just like trusting your gut, and like Mary always kind of knew who she was and what she was doing, and she didn't worry about the critics, and she didn't worry about her audience. I mean, I think she really believed that there would be an audience for her work, and she just had tremendous tenacity. And so I think that's what I personally take away from her story, is that personal commitment to an artistic vision and to tenacity. And also, I think this idea of discipline. And so this is something I talk to my students about a lot. And discipline doesn't mean necessarily like just beating yourself up constantly. Like, of course, we all need rest and to have like more restorative times in our creative process and creative life. But it just means like regularly showing up. Even if you're not feeling creative or productive, just showing up and being ready and putting in a little bit of work and bringing 100% of whatever you have to offer on that day, I think it's just important to building a creative life over a long period of time.
Yeah. Well, I love what you said earlier about, being, feeling like you're not necessarily a documentary filmmaker, although you've made some great ones, but more of an artist who happens to sometimes, commit yourself to doing a documentary. But that shows through, shines through loud and clear, I think, in this film, and it's really beautiful. So congratulations again. And those of you who haven't had a chance to see it yet, you're in for a treat. Streaming for a month on PBS's website, and now that it's been launched on American Masters, right?
Yes. And if you want to see the longer version, it's also on Amazon, Apple TV.
Oh,
as well. But it's not for, it's like, so it's free on PBS streaming.
Right.
Not free on Amazon
right.
and Apple TV. And there's the PBS version is 81 minutes, and then the longer version is 91 minutes. So the one the one that is screening at the festivals and in theaters was the longer.
Is the longer one. Right.
So we had to cut it down for broadcast.
Right. Well, thanks so much, and I look forward to hopefully talking to you again sometime down the road if and when you take your artistic self and decide to commit to another documentary.
Oh my gosh, I know. Thank you so much, James. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So I just want to say really quickly for those of you who are watching, there will be no Watch Club this coming month because it is actually our festival month. So if you're in the area and want to join us, September 25th through the 27th. This year's 22nd annual Newburyport Documentary Film Fest. We'll see you back here in the Watch Club in October. Thank you so much, Sasha.
Thank you.
We're going to just say one more thank you to the Ford Hall Forum, our sponsors, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.